Welcome back to the pod. And by the way, thank you so much for all the lovely comments on last week's episode. Right, this week, lads, I cannot even believe it. My dream guest is coming into studio. Honestly, I reached out to her and she said yes. I'm still sort of in shock because when I go into my podcast downloads, hers by a country mile is the one that I listen to the most. She is amazing. She's written a new book called The One of Us. Over the years, she has taught us so much about failing, but also what we can learn from those failings and turn it into success. She is the one, the only, Elizabeth Day. Elizabeth Day is in the Are We There Yet podcast studio. I'm
delighted to be here.
I am so delighted that you are here. I am completely fangirling right now. I'm trying to be calm. I have the podcast queen in studio. And honestly, when I was picking out my gorgeous sort of birdie cushions in TK Maxx 6 weeks ago, I was like, the top, whose arse is going to be resting against the cushions? Who is it going to be? And you are my top 5 arse.
Thank you so much. And that is my arse calling in from the other side of
honestly, though, it is such a pleasure and a privilege to have you in studio. It really is. Honestly, I've been listening to How to Fail. Thank you, first of all, for agreeing to be here. I know that you are promoting your book, One of Us.
Yes.
Read it over the weekend. It is utterly fabulous.
Thank you so much. It's so lovely to be here. Thank you for being so generous in your introduction. Also, top 5 arse, I'm 100% going to use as a book blurb, if not a Tinder profile in the future.
I love it.
Thank you for having me. Honestly, it's really lovely to be here. But
when you started your podcast journey back in 2018 with How to Fail, who were you most excited and or terrified to meet?
It's such a good question. And I'm so lucky that I have actually had some of those people. So Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie was one of my top 5 dream guests.
Yes.
And she has been on the podcast and was incredible. And I have met her subsequently, and she is exactly as intelligent and brilliant and eloquent and energetically warm as you could imagine.
Yeah.
So that was a pinch me moment, as was Kate Winslet, who I don't think I even put her in my top 5 because I was like, well, there's no way I'd ever get Kate Winslet. And then we did. And she turned up 20 minutes early on her own, scoffed a packet of candy kittens that were those sweets that we had lying around. Yeah. And she was just so genuine and great to talk to.
Yeah.
And you know, when you get that sense when you're interviewing someone that it actually just becomes a conversation where you feel like you are connecting and aligned and you could actually ask them anything. It was like that with her. She was amazing.
And had you ever met her before at events or anything like that? No, never.
I'd met her once very briefly. My first job in print journalism straight out of university was for a local paper in London called the Evening Standard. And they had a gossip columnist called the Londoner's Diary.
Right.
And I used to get sent to very glamorous parties in order to bowl up to celebrities and try and get a quote from them. And I got sent to the Evening Standard Theatre Awards one year, and Kate Winslet was there. And I was so intimidated and sort of bowled over by her presence that the only thing that I think to say when I went up to her was, my male housemate fancies you and loved that you were naked loads in the movie Iris, which is such an offensive thing for me to say. Iris, this movie about Iris Murdoch and a spiral into dementia, was not about Kate Winslet's nudity. Different times. What can I say, Kathryn?
My God.
That was like 2002. I wouldn't say that now. She was so gracious about it. She's like, oh, thank you.
But you see, and I would never have gotten from you that you would be that ballsy. Like what I get from you is like, you've just got such a gorgeous, natural, really warm way of engaging with people and making people feel comfortable. Like when I think about you in that kind of freelance journalist mode, like actually going in, getting the story, getting the scoop, I wouldn't have thought that was kind of innately your personality.
That's such an astute point, and it wasn't. And I really had to talk myself into it.
Yeah.
And actually for many years, what I was doing professionally didn't feel in full alignment with who I am personally.
Okay.
And that job taught me so much, but it was a bit of a baptism by fire because I was so nervous when I walked into those spaces where I wasn't a party guest, people wouldn't really want to talk to me because I was just like a journalist trying to get a little juicy tidbit for the next day's paper. And yet I would have to because that was my job.
Yeah.
And so I developed this tactic quite early on of pretending that I had confidence, which actually, I know it sounds weird, but it did help. And the more that you
there's
pretend,
that kind of fake it till you make it.
Exactly.
Mentality.
And then the other thing I had was I had a fail-safe question, which was, who do you think is going to be the next James Bond? Because British people are just completely obsessed with who is or isn't going to be the next James Bond. And that was like my icebreaker. But I think that interaction with Kate Winslet, it's so funny that you should pick up on that. It was probably me trying too hard to be like warm and disarming and, you know, let me just
Down
say
to
something
earth.
that's like down to earth, and then it came out wrong because I was also really nervous. But she was so nice about it. I didn't remind her of that when she came on How to Fail Mind.
No.
And she was amazing when she came on. And Pamela Anderson, I think, also.
What a queen.
When I saw her Netflix documentary, I was like, we have to get her on, because I'm obsessed with the reevaluation of a certain kind of woman, particularly a woman who might have been incredibly famous in the 90s and had to deal with this toxic barrage of media negativity.
Oh my God.
But also women who have never been given their due for their talent because they've been overshadowed by living in sexist times. And for me, Pamela Anderson was such a great example of that. And I couldn't believe that she was sitting opposite me.
Honestly.
It is like a very special thing that I get to do.
One that stands out for me on How to Fail is your interview that you did with Monica Lewinsky that I've listened to a couple of times, because again, her intellect and her intelligence in that conversation and the way that she put her own story across, I mean, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, she is a phenomenal person. And thank you for saying that, because she was also actually on my dream guest list.
Yeah.
As being a classic archetype of everything that we've just been talking about. When I came to research that interview, I was so ashamed of how I had been conditioned by the media narrative of the time, which was that Monica Lewinsky, who was a 1921, I think she was 21 actually, by the time she got to the White House.
It was 98, I think, 1998.
That's right. She was a 21-year-old White House intern.
Yeah.
Who I would posit got groomed by a much more powerful man, not only more powerful, but the leader of the Western world in many respects. He's the president of the United States, who was 20 something years older than her. And not once did I think to question that power dynamic. The media narrative, which I inhaled without question, was she's the one who's at fault. And she was hung out to dry. And to speak to someone who has been able to live through that and to reckon with it and is self-aware enough to have done so much work on that trauma, and now to be able to talk about it in a way that helps others, was just an amazing privilege. And one thing that she said in that episode that has stuck with me, I'm saying always, it was like a few months ago, but it stuck with me a lot, was her definition of regret. And she said, because I think my question had been, would you, if you had the chance, take it all back?
Take it all.
Yeah. And she said, no, I wouldn't. Because it had a knock-on effect on her life. She doesn't have children. She's never got married. She said, a therapist of mine once said, you can live life with regret and it still be the right choice.
Yes.
And it was so powerful for me as someone who has made the choice no longer to pursue the fertility treatment that would be required for me to have my own children. That decision still brings me sadness, but it is the right decision at the same time. And I can be at peace living alongside that sadness. And that was an amazing moment.
For her to have given you that insight is incredible.
Yeah.
Can we talk about your fertility journey?
Course.
Because I think over the last couple of months, you being so outspoken about where you are now, and being okay with the decision that you are not going to be a mom in this lifetime. And I say in this lifetime because, and we'll talk about that, I think that has helped so many women. As somebody who's struggled with my own fertility issues, I've got 2 beautiful daughters, but it was a very long road for myself and my husband. We had 2 miscarriages, rounds of IVF as well. Both my daughters are IVF girlies. I it was only in the last couple of months reading and listening to you talk about it, it kind of brought it back for me how difficult it was, but also how much we overcame, you know? And I think it was a reminder of when I was going through that time, how much I needed the community of women that came in around me, you know? So would you maybe talk to us about your wanting to start a family and I suppose how you've gotten to where you are now?
Of course. But before I do, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh,
And
not at all.
I immediately feel even more connected with you because of that moment of vulnerability, because of the risk that you took of sharing that with me. And that's so beautiful. And I'm so sorry for what you went through, because I know you have two beautiful daughters now, but that pain never leaves you.
Never.
So I just want to acknowledge that.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I think part of the reason I'm so passionate about talking about this is precisely because of what's just happened. That moment of connection, it's also a moment of solidarity and of shared pain. And so many women and men wrongly have felt misplaced shame for millennia because they haven't been able to conceive or carry a baby to term, or they haven't been able to have the family that they thought they wanted. And the antidote to shame is sharing. And I'm also passionate in talking about it because I want people to know, if they are going through this pain right now, that there is hope on the other side. And that hope can be accessible to you, even if it doesn't turn out the way that you think you want.
Yeah.
Because that's my position. I never thought that I would feel fulfilled and at peace without having a child. And I'm here to tell you that I do. I genuinely do. And that's why it's okay for me to talk about it. And I think I'm someone who, growing up, just always thought that she would have children. And that was partly the family that I came from. It was partly social conditioning. It was partly all of the movies I was watching, all the books I was reading, and the sort of cultural diet I was ingesting. I never really thought that there was a chance that I would be a woman without children. It just didn't seem to be something that was talked about at all. And it was something, the older I got, that I genuinely wanted. And then when it didn't happen for me, so I got married to my ex-husband when I was 32, and we had about a year of trying naturally, and it wasn't happening. And then I had the unbelievably unhelpful diagnosis of unexplained infertility. And it was my first realization that the world of fertility is a world of vagaries and confusion. And it's also a world where you are often made to feel through the medical language as if you are failing.
Yes.
So a friend of mine was told that she had an incompetent cervix. Another person I know was told they had an inhospitable womb. I was routinely told that I was failing to respond to the drugs. And actually, it took me years to disentangle that and to think, well, no, maybe I wasn't failing. Maybe the system was failing me. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I did IVF, a couple of rounds unsuccessfully. I then got pregnant naturally and had a miscarriage at 3 months, which was devastating. And then my marriage imploded. And then I had an experience of like dating a, cliche alert, younger man for a couple of years who wasn't ready. So I froze my eggs during that time. And then I met my now husband, and he's already got 3 kids. So we were weren't sure where we were at with pursuing our own fertility journey. But then I got pregnant naturally again, just after I turned 41. That very sadly ended in miscarriage, but it made us realize how much we wanted it. So then we started pursuing fertility treatments. I had various procedures on my uterus, all of that sort of stuff. Went to multiple different clinics, had another miscarriage during lockdown, which was the worst one yet. And then we tried egg donation. And that was an incredibly stressful process. It took us a year to find a donor, which is very unusual, but various things just were obstacles in our path. And finally, we got to the stage where we had, a super duper A+++ grade embryo. And my uterine lining was the right thickness. I had been closely monitored, and then that failed. And it was at that point that I was like, okay, I don't know what to do next.
Needing hospital care can be confusing.
The first question out of everyone's mouth, where do I go? Well, the most important decision when choosing a hospital is choosing one that you can trust, one that has the latest innovations and world-class expertise. That is why so many choose Mater Private Network. Mater Private is Ireland's largest hospital network with hospitals and clinics in 10 locations around the country. They offer some of Ireland's leading specialists in areas like cardiology, oncology, spine, orthopedics and more. At Mater Private Network, you can be absolutely sure their medical experts put you and your family's needs at the centre of everything they do. Choose the medical care you can trust. Choose Mater Private Network. To find out more, log on to matterprivate.ie. So when you went to LA.
Yes, that was for the egg donation.
That was for the egg donation. So you had gotten to the stage in your head, both of you, yourself and Justin, your husband, that and to find the right donor, because I think that in itself must be a huge mental place to get to.
Thank you for acknowledging that, because it was actually.
Yeah.
And even though I am such a firm believer in nurture over nature and in the fact that there are so many different ways to parent and adoption is an extraordinary thing and all of that, there was still a psychological barrier that I had to get through, which is, okay, because I also love history and I love genetic connections and thinking back to like, who would have my great-great-grandfather have been and what might I have inherited from him? Like I'm a bit of a history geek in that way. And in America, it differs state by state, I think, but certainly with our clinic, you are given photos of potential egg donors. And so it's a slightly sort of surreal experience. It reminded me of online dating, actually.
Yeah.
Constant sort of swiping, being like, well, no, she doesn't have brown hair. No, I want someone who's tall. And they also answer questionnaires where sometimes they're asked what their favourite books are. And anyone who said Harry Potter was an automatic no from me. I was like, oh, come on, that's so unoriginal. And now possibly transphobic. But like Harry Potter and Paulo Coelho, I'm afraid, were like automatic no's. And so then you're like,
no alchemist. No alchemist.
No, I was like, who even am I that I'm this judgmental? How, like, it takes you to sort of weird places in your own soul. And once you see the photo of your donor, you can't ever forget that photo. Like, you know. And so
do you meet the donor?
Do.
Okay.
In the States, you can. I don't know what it's like in Ireland. In the UK, it's anonymous, and you will only ever see a photo of the donor as a child, and the clinic will choose which donor to match you with. They are not paid. They are given expenses reimbursed. So they're given up to, I think it's about £800 now for expenses.
Okay.
In the US, you can pay anything from like $5,000 up to $60,000. You can meet the donor if you want to. You see photos, they answer these extensive questionnaires, and it's a whole area actually, a kind of morality and legality that is very underexplored.
Like my sister just had a baby on Friday, a little boy, Oliver, and she had been living in the States for years, and she moved back. She was single. She was 38. She was online dating, met her husband, and she had frozen her eggs in Los Angeles.
Is she me?
Honestly, there are so many similarities. And anyway, and they fertilized. And anyway, she's had her little girl. She had a little girl through fertilized embryos.
Wow.
She just had her little boy on Friday. And so she's done now. And
from her frozen eggs?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
I'm so happy.
Amazing that she did years ago.
Justin and I had a pretty negative experience at the clinic that we had done egg donation through.
Yes, tell me about that.
Oh my gosh, it was just so inhumane. It's such a strange thing, because you'd hope that people in fertility would be the most humane because they are in the business of creating human life. And I just felt like, you know, you're at the meat counter in the supermarket and you grab a ticket. It was like that.
Totally.
And it was so stressful because we were thousands of miles away in a different time zone as well. So very often I would have to do bloods in London, wait for the results, get the results to the LA clinic. By the time they got back to me, it was sort of too late to have taken the injection that I was meant to take. So all of that was just like incredibly stressful. And they just didn't seem to care. And I had there were multiple different people who were kind of meant to be looking after me. They had this like awful online patient portal, which never worked. And you had to get on the portal in order to get all of your drugs. Anyway, it was endless. And ultimately, when the egg donation failed, they notified me via email, and I couldn't get over that. I mean, it was so,
Elizabeth,
it was so upsetting. You would have thought a phone call would, I mean, that's what they said. They were like, we'll call you. And in the end, I got an email saying, you know what it's like because you've done IVF. You have to wait. It's now 10 days rather than 2 weeks. You have to wait for 10 days when, to all intents and purposes, I was feeling so pregnant. And that's partly because of the hormones. It's exclusively because of the hormones I was on. But technically I was pregnant because I did have an embryo inside me, and I was getting all of the exhaustion, the nausea, the sore boobs, everything. And I thought, oh, finally, all of the signs have aligned and it is meant to be. And then to be told by email on the day that you go in for your bloods, it's like, you're not pregnant, cease all medication. And that was it. And luckily I was with dear friends of mine who are more like family, Joan and Michael, who one of us is dedicated to.
Oh, okay.
So I was in LA. Justin had to go back to London for work, but I was with Joan and Michael, and they were so amazing and just like fed me a vodka martini straight off the bat. And then Justin, bless him, flew back overnight without telling me. So I just had a call the next day from him saying, I need you to pick me up from the airport. And so he came back to be with me, and that's just a real act of love that makes me very emotional still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is something missing in the chain. Like, I understand the fertility world is a business, and it's only when you're in it you realize how much it is about business, how much it is about money. Yes, they are there to try and create life and help dreams come true, but there is nobody from an empathetic, like there's nobody in the chain of events, but in hospitals as well. I think when something like this happens, why is there not more emotional support for women, for couples who are going through it? Because when it happens, it's devastating.
I totally agree with you.
My experience was, we had gone in, I'd had 2 miscarriages at this point, which are so awful to go through.
Yeah.
And then you're full of drugs, you're full of hormones, you're going through, and you've got the semen, and you're in and out, and it's also clinical, and it's also surreal. Like, it's surreal. And we went in, implanted, we put 2 eggs in, and very clearly, I think after 10 days, or I can't even remember the timeline, but there was only 1 heartbeat, but it was very faint. And they said, come back in 10 days time and we'll do it again. And I was like, what do you expect me to do for 10 days? It was just like, that was it. Thank you very much. Goodbye, you know? And it's the fear and the disappointment and the constant stress. And then, you know, you're in limbo. And I just feel that there's something needs to be done for couples in that space, because there's just not enough support.
I could not agree with you more. And limbo is such a good way of describing it, because you're also told when you're trying to get pregnant, just relax.
Oh yeah, fucking hell, what?
It's just like, I can't imagine a less relaxing situation than having to go through IVF and being told to wait, and maybe it might work and it might not, and rest. And it's like having a whole other job, but it's also so much more important than a job. And you're on these hormones that I hadn't realized when I was in it. They were making me not be myself. I felt so disconnected and so numb from myself. And there are certainly some clinics out there that do a much better job. And I've been lucky enough, because of my work and talking and writing about it, to meet some of those people and to hear some of those stories of clinics and clinicians who really do care and who are striving to make a difference. I was treated during my 12-year fertility journey by one woman. All the other people were men, but that one woman was so compassionate, and she did this thing, and it seemed so small, but it had such a meaningful impact on me. I had a bicornuate uterus, which is a uterus with a septum. So it makes it into a heart shape rather than a V shape.
Okay.
And some people believe that it might cause recurrent miscarriage. Some others say it doesn't make any difference. But who knows, because not enough research is ever done into women's health issues, particularly fertility.
Oh my God.
And I had so many male doctors say, oh yes, your womb, there's a septum and there's scarring and there's probably not enough room for the embryo to development. And this woman who was in charge of our own IVF clinic said to me, your womb is like a beautiful room and it's got these columns and they're making the room slightly smaller and we can just take the columns out and it will be like a room with lots of air, lots of light running through it, and then it'll be this gorgeous place for your baby. And I was like, that is just that. And expressing it in that way with so much love and care makes a huge amount of difference.
And when you talk about it now, Elizabeth, I mean, I'm sure you have had like thousands and thousands of messages from women all over the world. And I think it is so important that we talk about it.
Yeah.
Like I remember going on, we have a late night show here called The Late Late Show.
Yes.
And I remember being pregnant on my first, and I think I was 8 months pregnant, something like that. And it was really important for me to go on. They had wanted me to go on and I was very nervous, but I wanted to do it before my baby arrived because I was so terrified and I was still in that place, but I had gotten so much support because I had talked honestly and openly about it. I was like, why is nobody talking about miscarriage? Why is nobody like this? It's 1 in 4. This should be a part of the pregnancy process. Why is nobody sharing it? Why do my friends feel that they're only telling me now that they had to? Like this is a conversation that needs to happen. And I think for me, it was really important to say that publicly as somebody who's in the public eye, and to say that on national television when my baby hadn't arrived safely into the world yet. And I don't know why.
Wow.
It was because I was fucking terrified for the entire pregnancy.
Yeah.
For the entire pregnancy, because I think when you've miscarried, you never, until you get there, you never kind of get over it. And it's, both my pregnancies, I felt like that. I didn't enjoy a fucking minute of it. It was just so stressful all the time. And so it was important for me to kind of say, look, we need to kind of keep this conversation happening. And, it's okay. This pregnancy isn't like a walk in the park for everybody. And it's important that these conversations are being had. And I know from all of the messages that I got, how helpful that was. And it's only now, I haven't spoken about it for so long, and it's only kind of sitting here talking to you about it. It's kind of brought up how important it is. It's like, and I kind of think about all those women who message me, and I go like, my life has moved on, but there are women going through it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why those conversations with you have resonated when I was listening to you and reading about it so much,
Well, thank you for saying that. But also that is so phenomenally brave of you to have done that. And I thank you for doing that. And thank you for being so honest about it. There's so much that I want to say. I also want to say that I think when you're going through fertility treatment and recurrent miscarriage, you believe that your baby will be your happy ending. Mm-hmm. And it's not an ending, number one. Yes. It's the beginning. It's a massive beginning to a different kind of life. And it's not uncomplicatedly happy either. Mm-hmm. It's going to be lots, I imagine, it's lots 100%, of different things.
100%.
And you're so right about the anxiety around pregnancy. Miscarriage is the thief of a happy pregnancy. Mm-hmm. You can't relax. You're checking every single time you go to the toilet for blood. Now, the fact that you did that when you were 7 months pregnant is so powerful. And the fact that you did it, and I don't want to speak out of turn here, I grew up in the north of Ireland, so I know a little bit about this magnificent country. But to do that in a country that is so riven still with Catholic shame, and I think those conversations need more than ever to happen in a space where women have not been allowed to be open in many ways and not been allowed to access their own pain for fear of somehow being wrong, being morally on the wrong side, believing that it is their job to procreate. And actually a woman's role, a woman's existence, a woman's value is so much more than that biological imperative.
Yeah. I mean, so much of what you've said there. I'm 46 now.
Same.
So we are.
Look at us. I love us.
Oh, I love us. And
how
when
old are
I
your
was
daughters, just quickly?
7 and 3, 7
Okay.
and just turned 4.
Okay.
So when I started the process of trying to get my eggs frozen, I was in I broke up in a relationship And I wasn't really maternal. I wasn't feeling it. And so in my early 30s, like 32, 33, maybe you couldn't get your eggs frozen. You couldn't, the tests weren't available in the Republic of Ireland. I had to go to the north of Ireland to a doctor up there. And again, when I started having these conversations around IVF and egg freezing, and why don't girls, like now we're telling girls that they can be everything, they can do everything. Why are we not looking at girls' hormone, like looking at their hormone levels, their, what's it, their AMH.
Yeah.
Getting that tested. So to give women, mothers, girls more authority, more knowledge about their bodies, where they're at, if they're possibly going to have a problem having children. Maybe do we need to sit down and have a conversation? I know I would with my girls. Do we maybe look at, do you want to defer college? Do you want to, there's so much conversation. But when I had any of those conversations with friends, family, or publicly, it was sort of shot down. Now we've come a long way since that time, but
yes, but it's not been that long since we started having these conversations. Like even to compare, given that we are exactly the same age, which I love. When I had sex education in school, all we were taught was don't get pregnant. Just don't get pregnant because there's sky high teen pregnancy rate. Don't get pregnant. It's the worst thing you do as a girl. As someone, your mother has fought for these feminist rights. You need to be out there getting a career.
Oh my God.
That was the only focus.
Yeah.
And as a result, I was so terrified of getting pregnant. I went on the pill for 14 years straight. Now, at no point did anyone say, by the way, the pill, it kind of messes with your hormones because this is what it actually does. No one told me that. I was in complete ignorance about it. And although there is vanishingly little research done on this yet again, I'm pretty sure, knowing my own body, that it's not being on the pill for 14 years straight won't have helped my chances of getting pregnant straight away. Then in my early 30s, when I was like, oh no, now is the right time.
Now is the time. Yeah.
And there's just not enough information out there. There really isn't. And when I had my first, when I started doing IVF for the first time, I went to my local bookshop and tried to find a book about IVF, and there was nothing. There were just mother and baby books, and they were mother and baby books then. And then when I had my first miscarriage again, I didn't talk about it. I didn't tell people at work. I felt, did I feel shame? Probably, yeah. I felt like, why is it not happening for me? What is uniquely wrong with me that so many of my peers seem to be having babies without any issue whatsoever? And I'm very proud of being a small part of changing that conversation and making it more public. Because now, thank goodness, there are conversations like this that exist. Yeah. But it's why I feel duty bound to keep showing up in this space, because I want the next generation of girls and of boys to have the information that they need to feel truly empowered to live the lives that are authentically theirs to live.
And Elizabeth, how did you get to a place then, after all of that? 12 years is a long time of heartache and hope and yearning and trying everything, even going as far as getting your donor in LA. How did you go through all of that to get to a place where you are now, genuinely, and I can feel it from you, that you are good and that you have made peace with the fact that you won't be a mom in this lifetime?
Exactly. Thank goodness. Because I honestly didn't think, I thought that I would have to make some radical change in my life. Yeah. I thought I'd have to sort of give everything up and become a ceramicist in St. Ives in Cornwall or something. And actually the radical change was internal. And in answer to your question, I had a really meaningful series of conversations with my husband. He's already got 3 children, and we have an amazing relationship that I'm so grateful for, that wasn't guaranteed. We met when I was 39 on Hinge, dating app.
I know. I mean, I love that story.
Thank goodness.
You were planning to go off and have a whole new life in LA, and you just went on this one date.
Yes. So LA is a recurring theme because I love that place so much. And after my divorce, I lived there for 3 months, and it kind of put me back together. And I'd been dating for 6 months on the apps, and it was so dispiriting, as your sister will know.
Oh, God.
And
I was swiping for her.
I know.
Going,
and it's like,
Jesus.
Just, anyway. And I got to the stage where I was like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to move to LA full time. I booked my flights on a Thursday morning, and I was like, I'll just get this Hinge date out of the way. Had no expectation. And Thursday evening, I walked into a hotel bar and there was Justin, and my entire life changed.
Just like that.
So I didn't, spoiler alert, I didn't move to LA.
Did you take the flight the next day?
No, so it wasn't the next, I booked it that day.
Okay.
But I booked it for, I think it was, I met him in March and I booked it for September. But then I had to make the decision in the early days of our dating. I was like, am I going to move to LA or is there something here? And I remember having the conversation with him about 3 months in, and I was like, I'm not sure what to do. And he said, yeah, that's a tough one. I can't make that decision for you. And I was like, what? Because I was used to what I'd broadly describe as emotional fuckwittage and love bombing. And so someone saying, oh my God, of course you can't go to LA. I love you so much. We've got to like move in together tomorrow. That didn't happen. He gave me agency and I was like, And so
what do I do with this?
What do I do with this? Like enlightened adult who I'm now dating. So in the end, I did take that flight, but I only went for a month. And during that month, I wrote the book, How to Fail. And Justin came out to see me for 4 days. And during that time, we went for dinner at the Chateau Marmont. And that's when we first said that we loved each other.
Oh, God. I love that.
So,
And you know what? In another kind of weird serendipity thing, my sister had moved to LA. And I met my husband. I was single. I was in my late 30s. Life was shit. I'd already woken up 3 times on my sitting room floor with my dog licking my face. Like that was how bad like life was. I was like, I'm never going to meet this. Yeah. And I was walking past this pub called O'Donoghue's. I don't know you. It's in town. And anyway, with a friend of mine, and walked in, and he was there, my husband to be, and he was playing traditional music in the window. And anyway, I was going to Banff the next day for a TV festival. Flew back for a week, flew to LA to see my sister, and I was going for meetings over there to potentially move to LA because she was living over there. And anyway, I'd never.
But wait, you saw the husband to be in
the window. He was in O'Donoghue's playing away. He's playing the guitar, and I actually the story is I was actually going to Shelburne with my friend, who was a complete man-eater at the time because there was a solicitor conference on. So there were going to be all these very wealthy solicitors in the Shelburne. Okay. So we were going there, and I said, no, I need a bit of Dutch courage on the way. And we stopped into the pub, and we never got to she fecked off. She went to the Shelburne, but I stayed and had the chats with him, and that's where I met him.
What was the first thing you said to him?
I'll have a gin and tonic.
Did he offer you a drink? Yes. So you'd spied him, and
yes.
Then there was just instant chemistry, and he made his way up to you.
Chemistry, yeah. And he was married before, and so I'm a stepmom to his one son. Connor's 30.
Wow!
So Justin has 3 kids.
He's got 3 kids.
And what age are they?
21, 19, and 16.
Okay.
2 boys and a girl. Although are the boys technically men now? Because
I would say yes.
Like 2 men
boys
and a girl.
Yeah. I would say they're men. So how have you adapted to the stepmom role, or how do you manage that?
So one of the first things Justin said to me, actually, was on our second date, because I had also been a stepmother in my first marriage. Okay. And I was very wary of doing it again because I know what a commitment it is in an extraordinary way. Like, you are getting the chance to be part of another family's life. Like, that's a beautiful gift. And so I was quite wary of it. And I raised it with him. I think actually he raised it on the second date. Because as straight women, we're so often told, like, don't act too serious. Don't ask the questions all at once. Just be intriguing. But he actually said, how do you feel about it? And I was like, well, being honest, I feel a bit wary. And he said, well, my kids don't need another parent. And it was such an amazing thing for him to say. And he's completely right, because they have 2 brilliant parents. He and his ex-wife are great co-parents. Mm-hmm. They've got what they need. They know that they're loved by every single family member. And I am a nice extra. And I don't feel that I have to, I've never had to discipline them because they were a bit older as well. Yeah. I've never been, I don't think that's my role to occupy. So I actually have a really lovely relationship where I get to say inappropriate things like, I'd much rather you smoke cigarettes than vape. And I don't have to do any of the tough stuff that their parents have to do. Yeah. And that's what I've learned, really, is that kids, I believe, appreciate it the most when you show up as yourself.
100%.
And I think for many years I was trying to be a kind of maternal figure in order to show that I could be a mother. Like when I was in the process of trying to be a mother, be a mom, myself. Yeah. And it just felt a bit fake. And so I just being myself has been so much better. And now that they're a bit older, it's really lovely having independent relationships with them. So I did a book tour date in Manchester recently, and my middle stepson has just started at university there. And Justin came, and the three of us went for dinner.
Gorgeous.
And it was so nice.
So nice,
It was so nice. But you asked me how I came to be at peace with not being a mother myself.
Yeah.
I realized that I could focus instead on all of the love I did have in my life. And my relationship is so important to me. And how lucky and blessed am I that I have that? And many people don't have that. Many people don't have the loving relationship, but they do have the children. And we can't, all of us, have it all. And so shifting that focus helped a lot. But the other thing that really helped, along with therapy and conversations with Justin and really kind of analyzing myself and my fears and my hopes, was a psychic reading that I had from a psychic who'd been recommended to me by a friend of mine who also went through fertility treatment. And it was one of the most extraordinary experiences of my life. This woman, she's based in America, she called me up. She knew nothing other than my first name, called me up at 7 p.m. on a Wednesday. And the first thing she said to me was, "Well, you love words." I was like, "I do, I really love words." And she's like, I know you're a writer. I can't tell if you're a screenwriter or if it's books, but I think it's books. And she just said loads of stuff that was super accurate, including, "I know you're a writer, but are you a life coach or something, helping people with their mistakes or like their failures?" So I was like, "What?"
And can I interrupt you here now?
Yeah.
She just had your name. She didn't know you were Elizabeth Day. She would have, if she could have recognized your voice.
Yes, I think it's unlikely given that House Vale is not as big in America as I would like it to be.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, she could have recognized my voice. I doubt it.
Yeah.
Because also, if she'd recognized my voice, she would also have known more about me. Like,
I get you, yes.
She never mentioned that I was a journalist ever. That never came up. And that's one of the first things that comes up when you Google me, my journalistic past. And like, various other things that she said, like, "Oh, your mother's got some neck pain." I was like, "Does she?" A check with my mother, she'd put her neck out, bell ringing. Like, stuff like that. It was wild.
Your mother's a bell ringer.
I know, isn't that cool? She's taken it up
where
in
did
her
she do bell ringing?
70s.
She
does bell ringing in, so my parents now, they did live in the north of Ireland.
I know, they haven't even talked about that.
I know. So I believe the psychic didn't know anything about me. Now, obviously, if you're of a more cynical mindset, you might think that she did. And that's fine. I'm not trying to convert anyone who's listening. All I can say, it was incredibly helpful to me and healing, because about halfway through the conversation, she said, "I feel that you're grappling with whether to let go of a lifelong desire. And if it's to do with children, I firmly believe that you were a mother in a past life of 6, and that this life has been offered to you to live on your own terms, because that experience in the past almost melted you." And she was like, "And if this resonates with you, and I don't know how old you are, and I don't know whether you've tried to have children, but you might have experienced miscarriage or unsuccessful fertility treatment."
Oh my God, Elizabeth.
And the moment she said it, it honestly felt true. And I looked back and I thought, I've had 3 miscarriages and 3 failed fertility treatment rounds, 6. And it gave me such peace. And she was like, "I can reassure you, we're going to have a big life. It's going to be meaningful. There are other ways to parent." And from that day, I have genuinely been at peace with it. And I'm so grateful to her. And I'm so grateful to the universe for giving me multiple opportunities to live different lives.
That is unbelievable. Like, it's so powerful. And it's to say that you, like 6, to say that you had 3 miscarriages and 3 failed IVF, and she saw you with 6.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it also made sense of this sort of deep feeling that I've had, that I do know what it is to mother, in sort of deep in my soul somewhere. And it also just it gave me permission, really, to see what it would be like to let that dream go. So just to kind of leave it to one side for a bit and see how that felt. And it felt like I was living in alignment with my purpose. And now I believe that my purpose in this lifetime is to speak in this way, is to speak for those women who can't have children, who've tried and failed, and to reassure them that there is meaning on the other side of it, and that there are so many ways to show up in this world and to love.
and you have spoken to so many women who have gone through it, and you've spoken to so many experts in the field. I think not just in when it comes to fertility or miscarriage, but across the board, like in all the years you've been doing How to Fail, have you ever thought, or you've done therapy yourself, but have you ever thought about getting into being a therapist or studying or being a counsellor? I mean, clearly people have said that to you before because you're gifted. I mean, I always feel, well, talking to you now, I kind of feel it is therapy. And when I listen to the podcast, I genuinely get that sense.
That's the hugest compliment you could pay me. And thank you. I'd never thought about it until I started How to Fail. And some people have started saying it, which is so nice, including some actual therapists. And I also am sometimes told that therapists recommend my work. And that's a very beautiful thing as well. So at the moment, I love doing what I'm doing, but maybe in another lifetime or in the next evolution, because I think therapists are superheroes. I think they're they're extraordinary people doing an amazing public service. And I don't know where I'd be without the therapist that I've been lucky enough to speak to over my life. Particularly my therapist at the moment. Oh my gosh, I love her.
Yeah. Have you been with her for a while? Like,
I've been with her, I guess it must be about 3 years now.
Okay.
And she's an older woman who also has a sort of spiritual belief. And I really appreciate that. And I've tried the whole gamut. And so sort of a super clinical therapist who doesn't have an awareness that there might be meaning beyond science and rationality doesn't really work for me. So I love my therapist right now. She's incredible.
Oh, so the quickfire round, this is the road test with Elizabeth Day, considering we are in the Are We There Yet podcast studio. Yeah. So your go-to road trip song?
I've just interviewed John Bon Jovi for How to Fail. So Living on a Prayer would definitely be up there. But I'm a huge 90s hip hop fan as well.
Okay.
So like the Dr. Dre album 2001, like I could listen to that from beginning to end.
Yes. Love it. One detour in life you are glad that you took?
All of the detours. I'm glad I took all of them. But I suppose specifically launching How to Fail was a massive detour. And it was kind of an idea that just plopped in my head one day. And I was like, oh, that sounds like fun. Let's do it. And I thought it would last for 8 episodes. And now here we are. However many episodes later, I've lost count, and an amazing audience and community that have changed my life.
Fabulous. The last thing you Googled?
Oh my gosh, the last thing, wow. The last thing I Googled. This is such a good question, and I know that there'll be something really specific. Do you know what the last thing I Googled is? This is so random. Emer, my producer, was talking about the Brita water filter ads with the 2 sharks in it. And so I had to Google it to watch what it was. Oh my God, this is so brilliant given everything that we've been talking about. I did it this morning. What's your Enneagram type? And I did the quiz.
I love it. I love
That's so
that.
me. I'm type 6, the loyalist.
I
was like,
love
that sounds boring.
Oh, I love it. If you could swap lives with somebody for a day, who would it be?
Sorry, you want Kim Kardashian.
Oh, interesting. Considering your new book is called One of Us, is there a book out there that you wish you had written?
I try not to think like that because comparison is the thief of joy. But one book I really admire and which changed the way that I thought about writing is The Bonfire of the Vanities by Tom Wolfe.
Oh, what a book.
Isn't it an amazing book?
Oh my God, I haven't read that for years.
Oh, isn't it great? And
it's just such a tomb. Oh, it's amazing.
It's incredible because it's such a page turner, but it's like so epic in scope, but personal in resonance. It's like, and he used his journalistic training to invent this new prose style, and that's why I love it.
It's phenomenal. One thing people would be surprised to learn about you, Elizabeth Day.
I'm an introvert.
Oh,
which is hilarious, like sitting here gabbing away on a podcast and being filmed and recorded. But yes, I need time on my own to replenish my energies. And I'm a huge reality TV fan. Some people might be surprised by that if they've not listened to my podcast or read my books, because I wang on about it all the time.
She is the Real Housewives professor.
Yes, PhD.
Elizabeth Day, it has been so lovely. Honestly, I could chat to you all day long. Thank you so much for coming in. Really, genuinely, I am so thrilled when they said you'd agreed to do it. I can't thank you enough. I'm such a fan. Keep doing what you're doing. You're incredible.
Right back at you. Thank you so, so much.
Needing hospital care can be confusing. The first question out of everyone's mouth, where do I go? Well, the most important decision when choosing a hospital is choosing one that you can trust, one that has the latest innovations and world-class expertise. That is why so many choose Mater Private Network. Mater Private is Ireland's largest hospital network with hospitals and clinics in 10 locations around the country. They offer some of Ireland's leading specialists in areas like cardiology, oncology, spine, orthopedics and more. At Mater Private Network, you can be absolutely sure their medical experts put you and your family's needs at the centre of everything they do. Choose the medical care you can trust. Choose Mater Private Network. To find out more, log on to matterprivate.ie. You've been listening to Are We There Yet? Hosted by me, Kathryn Thomas. Visual design and video edit by Stephen King O'Farrell and Connor Daly. Music courtesy of Audio Network. Series producer Paul McGregor and executive producer Sasha Hamrogue. New episodes of Are We There Yet? Are released every Tuesday morning wherever you get your podcasts, and you can also watch this episode along on YouTube. Are We There Yet? with Kathryn Thomas is an Onic original.